Good morning students, myself Major Komal Katyal, Department of Zoology, GK Govani Government College, Bhinmal. In continuation on my lecture on embryology, today we will discuss about parthenogenesis. भ्रूणिकी में आज हम पढ़ेंगे अनिषेक जनन के बारे में. Now first of all, what is the difference between sexual and asexual reproduction? In the case of asexual reproduction, there is formation of genetically identical offsprings which are more or less similar to the parent organism. In the case of sexual reproduction, there is formation of offspring which are genetically different from the parent organism. It happens due to presence of variation and there is involvement of two parents in the sexual reproduction. कहने का मतलब यह है कि अलैंगिक जनन में जो संतति होती है वो अपने जनक के समान होती है और जो लैंगिक जनन है, लैंगिक जनन में क्योंकि दो जनक मिलकर संतति उत्पन्न करते हैं तो उनमें विभिन्नताएं पाई जाती हैं. Now let us discuss about the asexual reproduction. The organisms that reproduce asexually cannot develop much variety because they are copying the original organism exactly. Now the parthenogenesis. It is a peculiar mode of production in which egg development occurs without syngamy. कहने का मतलब यह है एक प्रकार की यह जनन है जिसमें नर व मादा युग्मक के जो केंद्रक हैं उनके बीच में संलयन नहीं होता और फलस्वरूप एक नई संतति उत्पन्न होती है जो बिल्कुल जनक के समान होती है. The Greek word partheno means virgin and genesis means to give birth. The individuals so formed are known as the parthenote. Sometimes a sperm may stimulate an egg to develop without contributing its nucleus. It means the sperm enters the egg, but its nucleus does not fuse with the egg nucleus. So it means there is fertilization, but there is no amphimixis. BT in 1967 defined parthenogenesis as the development of a female gamete into the embryo without any genetic contribution, from the male gamete, that is with or without the attainment of adulthood. BT के अनुसार जो अनिषेक जनन है उसके अंदर मादा युग्मक एक भ्रूण का निर्माण करता है और इस भ्रूण के निर्माण में जो नर युग्मक है उसका कोई भी योगदान नहीं होता. हो सकता है कि जो भ्रूण है वो वयस्क तक परिवर्तित हो या नहीं हो. The types of parthenogenesis, अनिषेक जनन के प्रकार. The parthenogenesis may be differentiated into two types, the natural parthenogenesis and the artificial parthenogenesis. प्राकृतिक रूप से पाया जाने वाला अनिषेक जनन या कृत्रिम रूप से जो अनिषेक जनन हम उत्पन्न करते हैं प्रयोगशालाओं में. The natural parthenogenesis or virginal reproduction regularly occurs in the lower forms of animals, notably in insects, the lower crustaceans and rotifers. The experimental or artificial stimulation starts the egg on the path of parthenogenesis, and such type of parthenogenesis is known as the artificial parthenogenesis. This is the broad outline diagram of types of parthenogenesis. You can see the two types, the natural and the artificial. The artificial has two methods, the physical methods which include temperature, electric shock, the ultraviolet irradiation, pricking by fine glass needles, while the chemical methods includes the chloroform, strychnine, hypertonic or hypotonic saline water, metal or non-metal chlorides, the organic acids, the butyric, lactic or oleic acid, and urea and sucrose. As far as the natural parthenogenesis is concerned, it can be complete, that is, or it can be incomplete. In the case of complete parthenogenesis, it may be the haploid or Arrhenotocus parthenogenesis or diploid or Thelytocus parthenogenesis. In the case of haploid, generally males are produced parthenogenetically while females are produced sexually. In the case of diploid or Thelytocus parthenogenesis, generally the females are produced, and it is of two types: the meiotic parthenogenesis, which involves the meiosis, and the second one is the ameiotic, in which the reductional division, that is the meiosis, is generally absent. There are two different methods of diploid or Thelytocus parthenogenesis. One, the restitution, and second one, the auto-fertilization, about which we will discuss later on. In the case of haploid or Arrhenotocus parthenogenesis, there are certain examples which belongs to insect orders Hymenoptera, bees, wasps and ants, the Homoptera, scale insects, Coleoptera, a common example of Micromalthus debilis, then certain Thysonoptera, which includes the thrips, the arachnids, which basically includes the Acarina, the ticks and mites, and certain spiders are there, and the rotifers. So these are the common examples of different types of parthenogenesis. Let's begin with the natural parthenogenesis. It can be complete or cyclic. The individual with complete parthenogenesis reproduce exclusively by parthenogenesis. It means in these forms males are unknown and population consists of females only, as you can see in the case of Cladocerans. In the case of cyclic parthenogenesis, the sexual generation alternate with the parthenogenetic generation. For example, in bees and wasps, some eggs develop without fertilization and produce males, while the fertilized eggs develop into the female. तो जो प्राकृतिक अनिषेक जनन है ये दो प्रकार का होता है, एक पूर्ण कंप्लीट और एक साइक्लिक। जो चक्रीय अनिषेक जनन है उसमें लैंगिक और लैंगिक जनन, कहने का मतलब है अनिषेक जनन और लैंगिक जनन के बीच में एक चक्र चलता है। पार्थेनोजेनेसिस या अनिषेक जनन के द्वारा नर उत्पन्न किए जाते हैं, जबकि लैंगिक जनन के द्वारा मादा उत्पन्न होती है। दिस इज द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ अ बग बिलोंगिंग टू फाइलम आर्थ्रोपोडा एंड द क्लास इंसेक्टा ऑर्डर Homoptera, showing that how the natural parthenogenesis is taking place. Now, this slide shows that how the sexual reproduction has comparatively better than the parthenogenesis. In the case of sexual reproduction, there is production of the ova and the sperm cell. There is fusion, ultimately formation of a diploid zygote and development of a diploid individual. Now, the two types of parthenogenesis, the haploid and diploid. In the case of the haploid, there is meiosis, development of oocyte, which is haploid, and this haploid oocyte later on develops into haploid individual. In the case of diploid parthenogenesis, there is automixis after the formation of oocyte, and as a result of which there is formation of the diploid zygote. While in the case of apomixis, there is no meiosis, there is mitosis, formation of a diploid female gamete which undergoes the development to form the diploid individual. Now, the natural parthenogenesis is further classified into two types, the haploid, which we have discussed earlier on, and the diploid. Now, the haploid parthenogenesis, the haploid egg form as a result of oogenesis develops into embryo without fusing with the sperm. These individuals are always male, while the female on the other hand develops from the fertilized egg in the normal manner. Let us take the examples of all the four order one by one. First, the Hymenoptera, which include bees, ants and wasps. Then the Homoptera includes the scale insect, plant lice. Coleoptera includes the beetles and weevils, and the Thysanoptera, which includes the thrips. This is the example of honeybee, in which drones develop from the unfertilized egg, so they are haploid, while the workers and the queen are diploid, which develop from the fertilized egg. This is the example of ants, where you can see the males are developing from unfertilized egg, as you can see in the case of Camponotus, and the female or the workers or queen are developing from the diploid. This is the case of Micromalthus debilis, a Coleoptera, in which the parthenogenesis is taking place. This is the example of cyclical parthenogenesis, which is occurring in aphids. You can see the winter eggs are different and the spring and summer eggs are different, which shows the parthenogenesis and viviparity, while in the late summer and autumn the sexual reproduction and oviparity is common. The natural parthenogenesis in arachnids, common examples are of ticks and mites. The examples are red spider, Tetranicus, while Patau described the pediculoids. Opperman has described the male diploidy in one species of tick. This is the diploid and haploid parthenogenesis, which is taking place in a rotifer, that is Diploidea. You can see there is cyclic diploid and haploid generation going on, with haploid generation is shown with the dark blue arrow marks and the diploid with the light blue. You can see the diploid parthenogenesis in the upper half with amictic female giving rise to the amictic eggs, and later on the amictic female ultimately mitosis, so complete diploid parthenogenesis. And if the meiosis occur, there is formation of unfertilized mictic egg, and this unfertilized mictic egg can be developed into male, and this male, after the production of sperm, fertilizes the mictic egg, and there is formation of the diploid egg, which is the amphigonic reproduction and goes to the resting stage. And whenever the situation becomes favorable, it develops into a diploid female. The haploid parthenogenesis in rotifers just explained in the previous slides, that the bisexual form, the eggs are of two kinds. Developing from the diploid ovary undergoes only second meiotic division, and during the fall months the female produce haploid eggs through normal meiotic division. These eggs, if not fertilized, give rise to the dwarf males, and if fertilized, acquire a heavy cyst as resistance winter eggs, which develop into ameiotic female. The haploid parthenogenesis is also observed in one species of domestic turkey, where females isolated eggs from females start developing, and all of them develops into the males. In a nematode reptidid, a round form, sperm do not enter the eggs, but they stimulate the egg, and the egg remain unfertilized and they develop parthenogenetically. It means there is सूडो फर्टिलाइजेशन और गाइनोजेनेसिस। कहने का मतलब है कूट निषेचन की प्रक्रिया होती है और उसके द्वारा जो मादा युग्मक है वो भ्रूण के अंदर परिवर्तित हो जाता है। सो दिस फिनिशेस द फर्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ माय लेक्चर ऑन पार्थेनोजेनेसिस। इसके साथ ही जो अनिषेक जनन है उस पर मेरा पहला व्याख्यान समाप्त होता है। धन्यवाद।